All right, let's get our recording started. ECE 111, Language and Literacy, our final week. Let's see just a couple of announcements that we have. Final week of class. Real quick, does anybody have any questions on the literacy kits? I've seen a few completed ones. Are you guys having any troubles putting it together? Have you picked out your book? Got your activity? Is everything going okay? Benita, Jasmine, you got it, Stephanie? Okay, good. I knew once you chose your book or your theme that it would actually go together fairly quick. I think the hardest part is probably getting the directions set and getting your pictures taken. I didn't really specify what program you needed to use to submit these assignments. I think it would be easiest to either use PowerPoint or Word, it's up to you, so that you could add your pictures that way. What you could do is take a picture with your phone and then email it to yourself and then download that onto your computer and add it to whatever document you're wanting to use it with. There may be an easier way to do that, but that's what I tend to do with phone pictures. Or, of course, if you have a webcam, you can also take a picture with that as well. So please remember there's certain things that you need turned in and also the two pictures. Is that what you did, Benita? Okay, good, good, great. So good, literacy kits are due on Sunday night, October 4th. Can you believe we're almost in October? We're not very far away. This month seems to have just flown by too. Next thing, everything due by Sunday, October 4th at midnight. If you have any missing assignments, be sure and get those in. Even if they're late, you can still get partial points. That would be wonderful. And lastly, Autumn is doing great. She's getting bigger. Her feathers have grown a little bit. And in week 3 of our next class, I'll bring her in as a guest speaker so you can see how much she's changed. It's hard to notice how much they change when you see them day by day. It's just like kids. But when you see them month to month, you'll really be able to tell a difference. So baby chick is doing great. What else do we have? We've got 2 chapters to go over tonight. I pulled out just the basics of them. Our last 2 things to do in our course, chapters 15 and 16. I believe you guys have 2 discussion boards this week, and as usual, get those initial posts done by Wednesday at midnight. You've got your literacy kit. You have your final book list. You've got a Pinterest assignment, and I believe a chapter overview quiz. So try to get as much done early on in the week if you can, so that maybe you could have a few days off this weekend, but just relax a little bit before the next class. I believe the next class is 113, ECE 113, Creative Art, Movement, and Expression. So we will, again, be using Pinterest in this class as well. So those of you that set up your Pinterest accounts brand new for our class, be sure and don't shut those down. We're going to keep using those. Now, I'm not saying we'll have Pinterest assignments in every class, but there's definitely some that will lend themselves to using Pinterest more, such as with our books, with creativity, with art, and when we get into the parts of the classroom, there's so many different things we can do with it. So don't give up on it. Stay active. Okay, chapter 15 talks about, let me bump back here, preschoolers. So just a little bit about preschoolers. I know you've went over Piaget's stages of development so many times. We're going to talk about preschoolers and what stage they are specifically in. So they are in the pre-operational stage. And when you know about this, it helps describe them and helps you understand them a little more. So let me get my pointer here. Oh, we'll use the smiley face tonight. See if this one will work. There we go. Okay, smiley face is 2 to 3 years, beginning at about 2 to 3 years, and all the way up to 7 years. So 2 to 7, they understand object permanence. If you take a ball and move it behind a curtain or a blanket, they understand that it hasn't disappeared off this earth, that it's basically just behind there. So they realize that that object has not disappeared. It's permanent. It will come back. They begin to use language to represent objects and ideas, so they're speaking more. They are egocentric. They cannot look at the world through anyone else's eyes but their own. So think of 2 to 7-year-old is kind of our selfish time. That and it's not a bad thing. It's just developmentally that's where they're at. It's hard to understand the concept of sharing and sometimes other people's feelings, but that's what we're working them through during this stage. And they do not understand the concept of conservation between 2 and 7. And let me see here if I can get this to work right. I loaded a video a different way this time, if it will work. Oh, I thought for sure it would come up. Okay, well, I have another idea then. Let me see. All right. Give me just a minute. I had to click back and forth through some different pages. And if I do this right, I should be able to pull the actual video up. Your screen should be blank right now, so don't worry. Oh, it won't let me post it. Nope, it's not going to work. I'm going to have to get some additional training in how to get a video to embed into Blackboard because for some reason I can't get them to run right on the PowerPoint. So anyway, lack of conservation is the big example that you see in the books and also on YouTube. If you were to type in lack of conservation, the examples will be liquids in 2 identical containers that are the same height. It looks like 2 clear glasses that are to the same height, right? They are identical. So the idea of not being able to understand conservation comes in when we take one of those glasses that are the same size and we pour the liquid into a tall skinny glass, and all of a sudden once that liquid is poured into the tall skinny glass, the level rises. And the big question they have for the child at that point is which has more liquid. Now we know previously that it was the same. It's the same amount, maybe it's 1 cup. However, when it's poured into a tall skinny glass, it looks like it's a lot more because it's taller than the other glass. So at this stage, they cannot really grasp or understand the idea that it's still the same amount of liquid, and that's considered lack of conservation. I'm so sorry I can't get my videos to go right. Here's an example of this. Wait a minute. Why did PJ get 4 sandwiches and I only got 2? So if you look at the sandwiches, the difference is one's cut in 2 and the other has been cut into 4 pieces. And you've probably seen little kids go through this before. I've seen tears over this before. But they really can't understand that 4 smaller pieces can be the same as 2 medium-sized pieces. Okay, what are the teacher's roles in providing for play? We talk about how important play is to learning. So what does the teacher do? First of all, they create the environment. And I'm going to show you a few pictures here in a minute of different ideas of this. They observe the children and record the results. They are the facilitator in the classroom, the one that helps build or scaffold the learning. They model the play, and so specifically in preschool, you'll notice that the teachers don't necessarily go sit at their desk during indoor recess or center time. They're out in the middle of it, being a part of it, modeling it. They're also the questioner to try to draw more answers out. They're a responder when the child has answers, and they are the planner. So here's an example. Creator of environment. This is something a teacher is, creator of the environment. Take a moment to look at this picture. What do you think about this picture for a play area in a preschool? Do you think that would be neat to have in your classroom or nearby your classroom? It does look like fun, doesn't it, Faith? You love it. Yes, so do I. So we've got a kid-sized grocery store with a counter and a cash register and even baskets. And then you've got other businesses set up. I can't tell what the one at the very end is. You've got a little house maybe. That's right. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's glass or Katrina. It might be plexiglass too for safety reasons. You're right. That's a good consideration. Yeah, because you never know how rowdy they're going to get. So, all right, hold on just a moment. I'm going to be right back. I want to click you over to a different slide real quick. I will be right back. I had kind of an emergency come up. Here's an example of the teacher being a model. Okay, I'm sorry about that, guys. I had a text message come through from a friend of ours asking if my husband was at home and that they're searching for a homicide suspect at 7th and Duquesne. That's kind of around the area where my husband works in Joplin, so I think she was worried that he was still up there, but he's not. He's safe in Fairland. Ah, that kind of made my heart race. You never know, right? We got to stay safe. Okay, so we've got the teacher as model. We have to show them sometimes what to play, how to play, what to do, and the children love when the teacher becomes part of the play. So we're the models. We're also the questioners. And if you look at this picture, we've got a teacher and one little boy. It looks like maybe 3 little girls. And I've never seen this done before, but it's so cute. So they've got baby dolls, and it looks like in soapy water. They must be having bath time with the baby dolls. It could be messy, yes, but it's also a good way to get those dolls clean because, you know, they get dirty after a while too, so there's sort of a dual purpose. And as they're giving baby dolls baths, we could talk about body parts, we could talk about the soap, the water, how they float. There's lots of different things that you could go into. Okay, the process of planning, because the teacher is the planner whenever we plan activities. If we start here, I believe it is, we plan the learning experiences for the classroom. We decide what our goals are, the materials that we need when we're going to do it. We implement the plans, we carry them out, And then we reflect on the learning experience. Because here's the thing, sometimes you'll come up with an activity that you think this is going to be so great, the kids are going to love it, and you may put hours and hours of preparation into it, and it completely flops. So reflecting on that and deciding if maybe there's things that could be done different or how you're going to change it is very normal. The first time you present an activity, you're very lucky if it goes off without a hitch. So you just take a moment, write it down, observe the child, adults, peers, materials, and settings, and then you replan. So it's a cycle that we go through. It's never going to be perfect. If we use the Learning Center approach in early childhood, and most centers do this, those of you that work at centers, at daycare or at preschool, do you have learning centers? I'm sure a lot of you do. Of course, there's almost always a library area. There's almost always a housekeeping area. Lots of you have dress-up areas with costumes, right? So the older they get, the more complicated or complex the learning center can get. So once we get into grade school, we might even have writing centers where they're practicing their alphabet or learning how to draw letters. So it's important with learning centers that we give them lots of choices. They're free to move around a little bit at least. Range of developmental differences depending on the children, because you may have some that are closer to 3 and some closer to 4 within the same classroom. You don't have open centers during all hours. Oh, gotcha, Lauren. Exactly. Sometimes there's a certain time period when you have centers. Right. If you look at like maybe the Montessori schools, some of those do have open centers that they're welcome to go at any time. You know, it's kind of hard to imagine that. I think it would be great, but also you kind of picture a little bit of chaos, don't you? Just whenever. You want cooperative learning, give them the initiative, and you want to provide a variety of centers, but you also want to rotate them as they get tired of one. Maybe it's time to swap one out because you don't see children going to it as much. Yeah, you're right. It could be a little bit of running around, and we don't want accidents. That's true. To provide a preschool language environment. Oh, and fighting. Yeah, no fighting, right? Preschool language environment. We want to encourage conversation, acceptance of each other's differences and similarities. We want to provide them with experiences, lots of children's literature books, and I really enjoyed grading the Pinterest classroom books last week because there are so many books that I haven't read in a long time, and seeing those pictures helped me remember them. It was really a fun time. Book extenders, which the activities that you guys are coming up for with your literacy kit could be examples of book extenders. They're going outside the book to provide a more rich environment. Lots of print, offering them to do show and tell. And you know, show and tell really does fulfill so many different things. First of all, they get to show something off, which the kids love. They get to talk about it. And they get to do this in front of their peers. And so sometimes they're really proud of that thing that they've brought. Sometimes they're really excited about show and tell day. But also sometimes you'll have a child that it's really hard for them to do, to get up for show and tell because maybe they're shy. So show and tell can actually encourage them to speak in front of people, and that's something that we want to start from an early time because you want them to be comfortable in front of their group and to be able to talk about things. Also a writing center, and almost all classrooms have a calendar area and a time area, and lots of times the calendar is talked about each day, what's going on what month it is, what's coming up. Also, math in the preschool, which is also talked about in your book. We want them to know a little bit about numbers and counting. We actually do encourage a little geometry and shapes. Down here we've got a picture of this little guy working with, oh, if I can remember the term, is it teragrams? Did you guys ever play with these in high school or junior high, where you had to fit the shapes to create the same shape? They're lots of fun. This little guy is actually a little young to be doing that, but whatever they want to play with. You did an elementary, yeah, and you had a huge box when you were a toddler. Oh, cool, Katrina. Because it is, I mean, it's fairly complicated. It takes some complex skills to figure out which direction those should face. We do patterns, algebra, data analysis, sorting and classifying, even if we're just lining up the blocks or lining up the baby dolls by size. So some of the things that we don't really consider being formally math actually are you're teaching math skills. And what do you say, Lauren? We have them at your preschool class. Oh, and they love them. Well, great. Great. Okay, so that was just the basics of Chapter 15. We've got just a few slides to go over for 16. Now, Chapter 15 deals primarily with preschool, and now we're going to talk about primary age children. So we're talking about early grade school. Early grade school. Here's another video that won't show. I promise I'm going to work on this. I am. By next class, my goal is to have a video actually show that I've added to my PowerPoint. I even embedded it. I went to YouTube. I copied the embed code. It should work. Concrete operational is the stage that we're talking about with our early elementary kids. So some of the goals we have for them are successful early learning experiences, very important. We don't want their earliest learning experience to be negative. We don't want it to be frustrating, because this is the time when with an encouragement a child can learn to love school. And it takes the teacher, it takes the other children, it takes the parents at home to really encourage this. You don't want to say, oh, I hate school. You don't want to say that over and over, because the child will pick up on that and they'll hate it as well. So we want them to have success, and we want to keep it positive. We want to play active roles in their learning, of course, as teachers, develop dispositions toward learning, again being positive, appropriate opportunities to develop competencies in literacy and numeracy and numbers, and continue developing their individual and personal interests. So we do want them to develop as a group, but also individually to find out what do they like, what activities do they enjoy, what what subjects in school are your favorite. There's nothing wrong with having a favorite. Developmentally appropriate cognitive language environments. Again, in grade school, themes, project work instead of individual, maybe solving problems, joint planning, collaborating in small groups. This teaches them a little, of course, manners and working together and taking turns. The teachers move to more of a facilitator position, so they're getting things going and then letting the children kick off a little bit on their own. Language and literacy, reading, writing, and math a little more formally and early elementary. With reading, we want to expose them to lots of different types of books, more pictures, more words, depending on the child. Immerse them into a rich reading environment. Reading has purpose at this level. An example might be reading a fiction book versus a nonfiction book and talking about the difference between the two and how you learn facts from one and there's stories in the other. So we start talking about how the books are made, what an illustrator is, and maybe they even develop a favorite illustrator at this age as well, as long as the teacher keeps talking about that and showing them. We use high frequency words. We want it to be fun, and we have strategies and phonics. Okay, math skills, early elementary, more members concepts, discovery versus just telling them how to figure out the problem. We want them to figure out a little bit on their own. Solving meaningful problems, maybe in the form of word problems, which would be pre-algebra. Make mental connections to help them discover relationships, develop confidence, and their ability to think things through. So we don't always want to just give them the answer. We want them to have the ability to find their own answers because they love solving problems. Okay? And our final slide. See, my plan was to finish a little bit early tonight so that if you had a chance, you could work on your literacy kit or get it finished up or maybe get another assignment complete, right? So does anybody have any questions? Nope. Nope, everybody's good? You're all wonderful and glorious. Well, let me know if you have any this week. Call me, email me, Facebook me if you have any questions. Our goal is to get everything turned in by the end of this week. Miss Faith, we're going to miss you so much. This is our final live lecture with Faith Crabb because she will be starting her externship. I know! So good luck to Faith, and I know she's going to keep in touch with us. If any of you aren't following me on Pinterest, oh, you all are, we're good. If any of you have it in front of me on Facebook, please do so because Faith's on there as well, and we'll be able to see how she's doing. She's going to be externing at CAP Tulsa, and we are excited about that. That's great. And getting married in 4 weeks. Oh my gosh. So you guys go on, have a great night, and contact me if you need to, okay? And let's finish out this week strong. Yay! You're so welcome, Faith. Okay, guys, bye. Have a good night.